Black Bean Sampson here. It is April 3rd, about 9:40 a.m. in the morning, 2018. How's everyone doing today? So, I'm going to start off with when the domestic population becomes too wealthy, the politicians have no more free stuff to hand over. So, to keep on getting votes, they have to find people who want free stuff, which is immigrants. This is why immigrants are so important to the Democrats at the moment, and to some Republicans, because they both realize that they have very little to offer, if anything, to the domestic population at hand. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because we're having a huge influx on immigration. And one of the arguments is America was built by immigrants. It was a total sham. Total sham. You know, immigrants, if you were to define it, isn't people who go build nations or who utilize the land in a way that the last people or where no people were to begin with. To farm the land, to essentially domesticate the land. And, you know, at least I don't remember at all growing up here in Columbus, Christopher Columbus, as an immigrant. No, he was a settler. They came and they foraged the land in a way that nobody did before. And nobody claimed the land as a nation or a country or a state before Christopher Columbus came. And then all the people after him. And I would even still lay claim that the people after Christopher Columbus were not immigrants. There was not an established place in America until essentially the 13 colonies started to exist. And even then, depending on where you located within America, if you located into the 13 colonies, you probably still weren't an immigrant, because you were coming directly from Britain, sharing the same cultures, traditions, and the value sets as the people that are here, because they just came from Britain. So it's kind of disheartening that you have people who try to lay claim that immigrants are the cause of, or the builders of the country, or, you know, it was immigrants that immigrants work that made America. We took advantage of immigrants to build this country. Whatever their argument on the left, or the Democrat argument is, it's total bullshit. They're trying to redefine what settlers were, what people who forged the land into something that was not. Immigrants don't do that. And immigrants are like, as shitty as I say, leeches. They come only after when things are been put in place, an establishment has been made. It's the only time that they really move into a new area. Not always, but great majority of the time, it seems like. And since everything's been pretty much taken up, we can't really have any settlers no more. There's no really such thing as that anymore. So people just try to relate what settlers were to immigrants when it's it's not. Like, sorry, there's a reason why we don't have settlers no more. We've essentially tilled and sold all the lands that have available that at least we can get to. I don't see. Never heard of an immigrant doing that. I've heard of immigrants going to farmers and picking cherries and doing all the farm work, but still after the farmer has been made an establishment. I'm not saying that immigrants can't build businesses, because some do. I have my stepmother. She's from Peru, and she built her own interpreter business. So it's not like they can't utilize the skills that they have and make their own little establishment. It's just that it's very, very, very far in between that they do. And to sit there and use the argument that immigrants are the builders and immigrants are the backbones of the immigrants, blah 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 blah. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit because, again, if immigrants were such builders, then that means there was a nation state or something along those lines, an established place here before Columbus, which we all know that the Indians didn't have an establishment. Essentially, they didn't have a nation state. Essentially, they were tribalistic, and they didn't own the land per se until we started to teach that you can essentially have territories and own quote unquote land, and then how you go about doing it, how you go about selling and bartering in that. So now we're at a breaking point. It's been about 250 years, a little over 250 years of America and almost every great nation has a collapse that's happening, like what's happening now. It seems like when, at least in a democratic type of society, where politicians, leaders, essentially start losing their grip because of, again, the domestic people become very knowledgeable, very wealthy, are homogenous, like an ethno-state, essentially. And when they do, they don't need government to protect them no more. They don't need all these things that government promises. And what does government give to the people within government? Well, power. Lots of power. And that will diminish the more domestic people realize they don't need government in their life. In fact, government is in the way of progression for these people. So what happens is the Democrats or the Republicans or whoever is in the parties at the time see that they need to get votes, and the best way of getting votes is to import that vote from other nations. Other nations that aren't doing so well. Other nation groups of people that, when they hear about free stuff, they're on it, not caring about the consequences of that. And the politicians are complicit of not caring. And I would make claim that those politicians are more knowingly what they're doing and what it's going to cause. There's too much history to bounce off of, to compare to mirror, to at least see that what's happening Why did it happen then, and why is it happening now? We just have too much data for them to just to turn a blind eye. Which, I mean, that's what they're doing, but they know exactly that they're turning a blind eye. They know. And if they don't know, I don't know why they're even a politician. I don't know, how do you become these people when you lack the common sense of, an influx of immigration is only going to affect the poor people already in the nation. Because, importing immigrants, well, it's not like they're wealthy and well established and have all these great and wonderful things, because if they did, they wouldn't have moved from their nation. They'd only come on vacation, that's all. None of them would want to become sanitation. Just wanted to rhyme. But for real, we're at a moment in time. We're at a tipping point. We're at a tipping point. And with this mass invasion of group of people coming from South America at the moment, Trump did come out. I would say he wasn't particularly super strong on the stance. But he did get at least enough tension to where it sounds like Mexico is going to try to stop these people from coming through, which would be wonderful. Because I don't know about you guys, I've seen photos, and I think we have enough sausage fest going on in America. And most of those people that were walking, they weren't like women and children who are in need of help. They're mostly men. Sorry, we don't need more men in this country. We already have the men that we have. We have plenty. Especially men that have zero connection to our value set, zero connection to our language, zero connection to our traditions, our history. We just don't have room for it right now. We got plenty of land, but the way our system's set up, it's to benefit them more than the people who are providing the resources to benefit them. That's really messed up. Taking my money, my family's money, my neighbor's money, my community's money, my state's money, my country's money, and giving it to these people who have not provided one thing to us. In fact, they feel like they deserve everything from us. Like they're entitled to everything that has been made by our forefathers. One of our obligations, I believe, as an American, is to protect what our forefathers built in the past. To protect and preserve what so many people have shed tears, sweat, and blood. I mean, to defend this is an insult to the history of these people. The honor of these people. But I mean, and I'm not saying this to the immigrants, because I know the immigrants don't give a damn, and I'm not really saying this to the mass amounts of black community, because even them, a lot of them, they don't give a damn. Most of them don't give a damn as much as the guy who was sitting in the car. Was it yesterday? It was three black fellows. Well, it was two black guys and a black chick. And the black girl picked up the gun. The guy in the passenger seat was all like, "Oh, you make me nervous," kind of like holding the gun like with her. And then he lets go, and then this dumb bitch pointed at him. And guess what happens? Sadly, that man is not with us no more. And how many black people are going to march against that stupidity? How many black riots are going to be caused because she shot another black person in the head? This is live on stream. This is streamed live on the internet. This happened, I believe it was yesterday. Again, this is April, I believe it is April 3rd. Yep, April 3rd, so April 2nd is when that happened. So if you're interested, if you're curious, just look it up. Black man shot in the head by a black girl and car, live stream. It's sad. I mean, I don't really recommend you watching the video, but maybe even reading up on it. But where's the riots? Where's all the marches for it? So that, I mean, my huge issue is that it seems like non-white people have a very, very, well, they're not very compassionate, not as much as white people. They don't feel guilty for the things as much as white people feel guilty as for the things that they do wrong. They don't feel apologetic as often as a white person feels apologetic. And that right there, to me, tells me one thing. We have very little very little in common. Very little in common. We have very little in the way of, I mean, we have lots in common. But we have very little in common in the way of values and standards. You know, I would never pick up a fucking gun and wave it at people that I didn't intend to actually protect myself from. Which is another point. Who were they defending themselves from when they had that gun on live stream? I mean, this is my problem with these people, with minorities. They sit here and they say they're the victims when yet I see them killing each other. And I'm talking about killing them each other. They kill each other at such a rate, it's absurd. I mean, just from the black community, a population that's around 13%, it's like over half the population is over 50% of the gun crime rates come from the black communities. I mean, how is that possible? How is a population of 13% make up over 50% of the gun crimes of that nation? Now that is one hell of a conundrum. But yet somehow white people are the oppressors still. See, that's what's gotten to too, is where the domestic population has gotten so smart, so wealthy that politicians can't get nothing from them no more. Can't get the votes, so they can't sell them nothing no more. But if they can at least go along with the fact that people are victims of white people, at the same time being like, we'll hand you this free stuff, well, you get the votes, which makes you powerful still. And sadly, a lot of these communities, these black and Hispanic communities, they accept the bullshit of like they're the victims, the bullshit notion that they're victims. I mean, politicians love to use that. They like to use it even against white people. Or, you know, sitting there trying to say white people have this privilege and if white people talk about black problems or the stereotypes, somehow that makes us racist. Again, playing on the fact that white people are easily guilted where other minorities are not guilted at all. or they're just really hard to guilt. And to feel bad and shame, like that just seems like another thing that's, I mean, ethnic has a shame and guilt button, but it doesn't seem to be the extent of how white people have it. I mean, white people have it so bad they will manifest that feeling into like an actual sickness and take it out on other people. So it's not going to be long by the seams of it. It's not going to be long. We could see the fall of Western America, or Western European nations and America, probably in the next 20 years or so. And it could slow down if we just completely halt immigration, and we could completely stop it if we were to say fuck welfare and minimize who gets to vote. As tough nails as that is, if we're going to maintain a government like that we are, some people are going to have to lose their voting abilities. And I'm not talking about felons. I'm talking about like people who aren't smart enough, people who aren't in the workforce, people who they've gotten to the military, people who have participated within our country in some way that gives them some type of understanding of what they're really voting for. You know, I guarantee everybody who is in the workforce and a lot of the military people, if they had the option to vote out welfare would have been voted out. The only people that keep welfare going are politicians, essentially, because they can use it as a token for votes. You know, we'll increase welfare, we'll give out more welfare, whatever the case is of handing out free stuff. That's what politicians will do, and they will take advantage of immigrants to lift themselves into positions of power over people.